And although this season can be super frustrating and confusing because there's a lot of math and a lot of laws involved, a lot of people are actually celebrating this time because they are getting back a tax refund. And unfortunately, I'm not one of those people. Hi, I'm SHANA of the Wealth Vibe, and I create videos to help you eliminate debt, grow your income, and build wealth. And in this video, I want to share with you how much money I owe the feds. And not only do I owe the feds, I also owe Georgia State money for taxes as well for the 2018 tax year. And I'm going to tell you exactly how much money I owe the feds and the state for taxes as soon as you hit that like button. These are my federal and state income tax returns, and I owe the government thousands of dollars. So I owe the feds about $7,953, and then I owe Georgia State $3,683. So I owe thousands of dollars, as I mentioned. And so you might be wondering, why do I owe the government so much money in income taxes? Like, why wasn't I paying my income taxes throughout the year? So I actually have 4 sources of income that do not pay or do not withdraw or withhold taxes on my behalf. Nobody withholds the taxes except for myself. So I have to be responsible and pay those taxes, or I'm supposed to pay those taxes on a quarterly basis on my own to the federal and state governments. But I didn't do that. I adjunct teach at a university. I teach an online course in the fall and spring semesters, and I brought in income from that, but that was a W-2 job. And so I actually did not owe taxes from that job because taxes were withheld from me. So what I actually did with that income last year, I actually didn't see any of that money because I increased my withholdings to make sure that I didn't actually get a paycheck from that. So I actually was able to cover about $3,000 of my taxes using that paycheck that I get from adjunct teaching. But when it comes to all the other sources of income that I had, my postdoctoral stipend money and my paychecks from Grubhub, Instacart, and Upwork, I was supposed to withhold taxes on my own, but instead I did not do that. The reason I didn't do that was because I was in massive debt. I owed $108,000 of debt. So basically at the beginning of 2018, I was still in the process of paying off my credit cards, and that has a high interest debt. So instead of saving for taxes, I put all that money towards paying off my debt. And then once I got out of, my credit card debt, I started to save a little bit of money from my paychecks to cover my taxes every single month. So that's what I did, and that's the reason why I owe money to the federal and state governments. One, because I don't get withholdings automatically withdrawn from my paychecks. And then secondly, I did not pay quarterly taxes for any of the money that I earned in 2018 because I wanted to focus on paying down debt and then later on go towards saving for taxes because I knew that I was going to have to pay them eventually. After I paid my credit card debt, I started to focus my attention on saving for taxes. So I started to put about $1,600, anywhere from $1,600 to $1,900 a month towards taxes into a high yield savings account. So I have a Sallie Mae bank. And I know a lot of people are like, Sallie Mae has a bank. They have a bank and they have a really good interest on their money market accounts. I get 2.35% APR on my Sallie Mae money market account, and so that's where I put all the money that I save for taxes. And if you watch my budget videos, you'll see that I do set aside about $1,600 to $1,900 every single month towards taxes. So I did my taxes, and actually my uncle did my taxes for me because he's an accountant, and he did them, and I provided lots of information to him, and I was able to get a lot of deductions that brought down my tax liability. So because I do Grubhub and Instacart, I was able to deduct mileages from my income, and that reduced my tax liability and reduced the amount of money that I would ultimately have had to pay the state and federal government. Additionally, I was able to deduct my cell phone expenses from my taxes because I use my phone whenever I do Grubhub and Instacart, for example. And so I was able to deduct that as well. I also was able to deduct all of my health insurance premiums because I am self-employed for most of my income. And so whenever you have self-employment income, you can actually deduct your health insurance premiums from the year to reduce your tax liability. So those are the major deductions that I had that were able to bring down my tax liability, because yeah, I don't know how much money I would have owed if I didn't have those deductions. Since tax season started, the main question on my mind has been, how much money do I owe in taxes? Because I wanted to know, will I actually go into debt for the taxes that I owe for 2018? And so this entire tax season, I've been, wondering, will I have to go into debt because of the decisions that I made to not pay quarterly taxes? And so I was really anxious about this. I submitted everything to my uncle, and actually I wasn't able to submit things earlier because my Grubhub 1099 had not come in for over a month. And that was because they said there was some issues with my W-9 form, I believe it is. And so I had to get all that sorted out, and it took about a month before I was able to get my Grubhub 1099 form so I could submit everything to my uncle. So finally, my uncle did my taxes, and he sent it back to me, and I realized that I owed $11,636 total between my federal and state income taxes. And so luckily, I did save up enough money after I paid off my credit cards to cover all of my taxes. So I'm not gonna have to go into any additional debt to cover my taxes. So I have the money to be able to just withdraw from my account and send it off to the feds and send it off to the state and be done with them for 2018. So I'm just super happy about that, because in the past 2 years, I have owed money after the due date, after the tax filing due date for taxes. But this year I won't owe anybody money. I am good. Comment down below and tell me if you are getting a refund or if you owe the government money for taxes. So I've learned a few things as a result of my tax situation, and one of the things that I want to do differently is I actually want to pay my taxes on a quarterly basis. Since I will still have self-employment income, I need to be paying on a quarterly basis because I will not have taxes automatically withheld on my behalf. And so I need to stay on top of that. And I think it's really important, because then you don't end up getting behind, and you also won't end up owing additional filing fees because you did not pay on a quarterly basis. And so that's one thing that I want to make sure that I do this year. However, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it for this April 15th quarterly tax due date. But if I can, I will try to, but I don't think it's going to be realistic for me. However, I'm going to definitely try to do that for the remaining quarterly tax due dates for the rest of the year. I also learned what my tax rate would be, and so I basically am dividing how much money I earned for the year, and I came really close to making 6 figures this year. But I'm going to divide the amount of money that I earned this year by the amount of money that I owed in taxes, and that is going to be the tax rate that I'm going to use to determine how much money I need to save for taxes this year. So that's one takeaway that you can probably apply to your tax situation. If you have self-employment tax this year, you can figure out what your tax rate was this year, and then use that to figure out how much money you need to save for taxes and how much you need to pay for your quarterly taxes. And you should get really close, especially if your income is not going to change that much. You should get really close to knowing how much money you're going to owe in taxes, and then you will avoid having to pay additional fees or penalties because you over or underpaid or you didn't pay on time. Another thing that I found that is super important when it comes to your taxes is keeping track of your deductions, because when I estimated my taxes and how much I thought that I was going to owe for this year, I estimated owing about $16,000 in taxes. But like I said, I'm only going to have to pay $11,636 in taxes. And I was able to reduce that amount by deductions, because deductions play a major role in how much money you pay in taxes. And if you are a delivery driver like me, you have a side hustle, you have self-employment taxes, there are tons of deductions that you can take to reduce your tax liability. My mileage calculations were able to save me $4,500 off of my tax liability alone. It's super important that you use some type of mileage tracker because those mileage deductions really come into handy. So one of the tools that I use is the MyIQ app. I have a link down in the description box if you're interested in checking it out. And I found it super easy to use. I am super happy that I have all the money saved up that I would need to pay off my 2018 taxes before the deadline. But if you owe taxes and you won't be able to pay all of it by the April 15th deadline, don't worry. Just make sure that you file your taxes. You actually submit them either through TurboTax or via mail, however you're doing that. Just submit the paperwork. And then the IRS and even some of your states have payment plans that you can go into. So don't worry about it because as I mentioned, in previous years, I owed money and I just got on the payment plan and I paid it off little by little until I owed the IRS no more money. And so that is an option. Don't be worried and don't stress out and don't, go put the money on a credit card or anything like that. Just pay it off slowly because actually I find that especially the IRS, their interest rate is a lot less than you would have to pay when it comes to your credit card. So just get on the payment plan and it will be all right. You will not go to jail. But I know how it feels because you don't want to have to owe the government money, but it will be okay. There are options to get that money paid off. Although I'll have to pay thousands of dollars to the federal and state government for income taxes, I am super happy that I have all the money that I need saved up to be able to pay my taxes without going into any additional debt. But let me know whether or not you will get a refund this year or if you will have to owe and pay taxes this year. I'm just happy that I don't have to go into debt for it, but I know that next year I want to make sure that I don't have to pay anything nor that I will get a refund because I don't want to have to really, have to pay any penalties, and I also don't want the government to take my money interest free. And so I want to aim for getting like a zero tax owed and zero tax that will be coming back to me. And so that's my goal for next year. But let me know where you stand. And if you haven't done your taxes so far and you have some questions on how to do the taxes, especially if you have self-employment income and you don't know what deductions you need to make, I have a video linked right here that you should check out, and I hope it will be very helpful to you. And I hope this video was helpful to you as well. Give it a thumbs up if it was, and make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell if you're interested in more videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.